have political implications, right? There is a sense in which political governance requires a system of obligation, right? It's the law. The law tells you what you can and what you cannot do, right? It isn't so much what you ought to do or what you shouldn't do. Yeah, you should follow the law, but you have to follow the law. Because if you don't follow the law, if the law says here's the limits of what's legal and you go outside of the law, right? Well, that's the whole point. No one's outside. This idea of being outside means that there's a box, there's a containment, and within that containment is what's permissible. Outside of that containment is what's either illegal, immoral, not permissible, and so on and so on and so on, right? So the whole point is that it's a turning away, right? It's a turning one's back from this will to exist. My will is such that I have the desire to do whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be legality, right? Let's say it's moral. I have. Let me think of a simple, yet sort of YouTube friendly. The first idea came in my head. I don't know if I want to give that example. Let me think of a PC example. I have the desire to. I'm going to give the example. I can't think of another one. I have the desire to. Let's say, for example, you think the institution of monogamy is ridiculous, right? And you say, well, why is it that we should live in a society where monogamy is the only acceptable norm, right? In other cultures, in other societies, polygamy is not a pejorative term, right? Having multiple wives or husbands isn't a pejorative thing. You're entitled to do it insofar as you are able to maintain the sustenance of these people. Well, why not embrace that? Well, because the law says that we can't. And I don't mean the legal law, the moral code, the moral imperative. It's a wrong thing to do. And the legal code might mimic the moral code, so that there's this discourse between the moral and the legal code, right? And in a sense, we are at a point in the United States of America, we're at a point in our social progression where this issue is coming to the forefront. Obviously, I don't want to jump off on too much of a tangent at all, but I do want to show you how you can use sort of Nietzschean conceptions to apply to contemporary stuff, right? I don't want to just all be in the ethos. I do want to show you that it's applicable. So, quick tangent. I mean, in the States, you'll see it on Google, you'll see it on Yahoo News, you'll see it all over. Will Mitt Romney run for 2012? Well, if he does, is America ready for its first Mormon president? Which it doesn't really have to do with him being a Mormon. Really, the question is America ready for someone who supports the concept of polygamy, right? That's what's really at the heart of it, right? Well, I mean, in a Nietzschean sense, the fact that it's even a topic for discussion necessitates a recognition that there has been a moral imperative, a taboo structured around having multiple wives, right? And insofar as that moral taboo is there, then it is a way of turning one's back on the will to exist. If I am the type of human being, based on my life experience and sort of my biological construction, that feels inside of me that it's a right thing. I want to be with 2-3 women. I want to be with 2-3 men. I don't want to, just be with one person for my entire life. Then if I live in that society, I start to think there's something wrong with me. What's wrong with me? I shouldn't be like this. Something's wrong. I need to change the way I think, and thus I conform. I obey, right? And this is where Shepard Fairey is a genius, right? You become obedient to the system, right? The system oppresses, and you transform who you are. You transform your desire, and you obey, right? So shout out to Shepard Fairey. All right, so you get the idea, hopefully. The question then becomes, but what is morality, right? When we're talking about morality, what is it? I'm not going to answer that right now. I just put that there because Nietzsche asked the question. I forgot the note. I think it was note 9, something like that, where he asked the question, what is morality? Let me see if I can find it. I should have put the notes in there. I can't find it. Yeah, he asked. I don't remember where he asked that. I should have put the note. But he asked the question, what is morality? What we'll see is, I'm not going to address that now. The question you should be thinking about is, what do we mean by morality when we talk about morality? We'll see, we haven't gotten to it even close yet, that there's a sort of pessimistic version of morality. And so far the discussion is about that. We'll see if Nietzsche introduces a different conception, a different spin on morality. But as of now, all we have is sort of this dogmatic, established, normativized morality that is set in opposition to my will to exist. And it is that I am, in a sense, raging against, right? Okay. All right, so there are 4 steps. This is this sort of 4-step process is something I put together. It's not something that you'll find in the text per se, but in reading through the text, I sort of just look for sort of natural transitions in Nietzsche's train of thought, and I identified it by sort of titles, headings, right? So this 4-step unfolding of nihilism is something that I just put together for the sake of educational purposes. In no sense is Nietzsche saying there's 4 steps, but it's definitely all in Nietzsche, right? It's all there. So 4 steps. 4 steps in the unfolding of nihilism. All right, so let's look at the 4 steps and try to make sense of what this is. First step. This is at sort of the bottom of page 3. Those on a quest. This idea of a quest is my idea, right? Just think about a quest, right? Those on a quest for the highest moral values eventually become, and the emphasis is discouraged. Those on a quest for the highest moral values eventually become discouraged, right? And the example is one of absolute truthfulness. So what we recognize is it's multiple things. It's not just the case that we arrive at valuelessness, V-A-L-U-E, and it's not just the case that we arrive at meaninglessness, but it's also the case that we arrive ultimately at just a sense of discouragement, right? You just end up being overwhelmed, overburdened, tired, discouraged. Right? Discouragement becomes an inherent, this is important, right? Discouragement becomes an inherent aspect of this nihilistic worldview, right? It's invariably the case that if you adopt this nihilistic, and it's not even an if, you will inevitably have to adopt this nihilistic worldview, that discouragement is an inextricable part of that worldview, right? The adoption of that worldview leads to discouragement at the best case scenario, right? So if I'm here, and this is what is the case, and here's what ought to be the case, and that idea is one of absolute truthfulness, and I'm aspiring for absolute truthfulness, only to arrive at the recognition that insofar as I've attained absolute truthfulness, you know, there's more conflict. My life is more miserable, right? People are very, very mean. The things that they think sometimes should be left private, but it's not left private. They're disclosing it now. I really don't like you. I think your breath really does stink. I think you're an idiot, right? I don't respect your religion. I don't respect, women. I don't respect men. I hate kids, Oh my God. It's horrible, right? We all, I'm not the only person, we all think horrible, horrible things, but we have this amazing ability to lie, right? And insofar as we lie, we preserve a lot of peace. If we lose that ability, and all we can do is speak the truth, people are going to get pissed off, right? So everything collapses. It loses value. The world becomes meaningless, and then I become discouraged. Why was I aspiring for that all my life? Why did I spend all my life, right, in the transition between egoism and altruism, right? Right? in the transition between egoism and altruism, why did I spend all my life trying to be altruistic, right? I gave and 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 I gave.